Good morning everyone. Welcome to the Tathastu-ICS. My name is Pooja Sharma and I am your current affairs faculty at the Tathastu-ICS. I am going to take your DNA today and happy new year to all of you. This is the first day in the new year. I am meeting you people. Good morning Rihan, good morning Akhilesh, good morning Manish, good morning everyone who are online right now. This is the QR code. So that you can access the PDF files. Okay. Good morning Ruchi as well. So let's see, these are the new programs which are starting, new courses. So if you are interested, you can go through the details, right? These are the important news which we are going to cover today, right? So the first news is related to a very important research that has been done by the IIT Guwahati in our country regarding the cancer treatment. Actually, it is a kind of a target based localized cancer treatment which is better than the chemotherapy or surgery. So we are going to discuss everything. What is this injectable hydrogel and how it is going to benefit the cancer patient. So the first news is regarding that. The second news is regarding the GM crops in general, and especially it is regarding the GM mustard. Okay, we all know that GM mustard actually got the approval of government, but the Supreme Court of India has stayed the order and it has not been released now. So there is already a debate going on that such kind of genetically modified crop should be there in public or not. Okay, because there are so many concerns like related to environment, related to the safety, food safety, related to the rights of farmer as well, right? So we are going to discuss the history of the evolution of GM mustard as well, right? Then we are going to discuss about this right to property. Okay, it is a very minor verdict by the Supreme Court. Again, Supreme Court is saying in the BMIC land acquisition case that right to property is a human right. Obviously, it is a constitutional right as well, but it is a human right also. Though it is not a fundamental right in our country, it is a constitutional right under Article 300A, right? So we are going to discuss the status of right to property in our country historically. What was the status of right to property when the India got independent? What happened after that? Why due to land reform we needed to change, we needed to remove the right to property from the fundamental rights, and when we did it on the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act. So we are going to understand the whole history so that you can have a clear idea what is the current status of right to property in our country. Then we are going to discuss about very important report by UDISE, means United District Information System for Education. Actually, it is an online platform which records the data of the state recognized school in our country. So all kind of data, enrollment of the students, number of teachers, cleanliness, toilets, electricity, so all kind of data. It is actually a pan data, okay, pan India data. So data at a very large scale, and and this data is also linked to the Aadhaar card of students, so that there can be no forgery when it comes to filling of data on this online platform. So this actually has given us a very not very good report, because the outcomes are not very good. Outcomes of the reports, because according to that in India the enrollment has decreased, number of schools without electricity has increased. Okay, so enrollment ratio has decreased. So all these kind of issues we are still facing in our education system, and this report actually say it all. So we are going to discuss this report also in detail. Then there is a last news for today, which is related to the Major Dhyan Khel Ratna Puraskar or award. Actually, it is the highest award which has been given to the sport person who has achieved a great greatness in our India. Okay, so it is given to sport person first of all. Second, it is not only for hockey, though the Major Dhyan Chand was associated with hockey. Most of the time the Major Dhyan Chand Puraskar has been given to the people who have actually achieved or who have secured gold or any kind of medals in Olympics or any other kind of world championship. So we are going to understand who are there are the 4 people who actually secured the Major Dhyan Chand Puraskar. One of them is Manu Bhaker. Okay, this recently she actually won 2 Olympic medals, okay, in recent Olympics. So it is very important for your exam point of view as well. Sometimes UPSC asks question about sports as well, okay, and these awards as well. Okay, so let's start today's discussion. The first is related to cancer treatment. Actually, Indian researchers developed an injectable. First of all, it is injectable. Second, it's a hydrogel. Hydrogel means by name you can understand it is a gel-like material for targeted cancer treatment. And third thing you need to remember, it's a targeted injectable. It is in gel form and it is a targeted cancer treatment. Let's understand which who are these researchers. These researchers are from 2 institutions. The one IIT Guwahati and another one the Bose institution Kolkata. Actually, this cancer treatment related to hydrogel is a localized based treatment. Okay, it is a localized cancer treatment. What is the meaning of localized? I will tell you in detail in the next slide. By name you can understand it is localized. It means whenever you are going to take any medicine, for example you are taking a medicine orally, then that medicine is going to go into your bloodstream, and medicine is not going to target only that area which is being affected. It is going to target the whole of your body. So that is not a localized form of medication. But here you know that in cancer treatment, if some people are having chemotherapy is also orally taken medicine that affect the whole of the body of a patient. It you know, the issues related to hair, issues related to the weakness, the all are related to the medication related to chemotherapy, not only the cancer. So but this treatment is a localized treatment. Okay, localized treatment means it is going to affect only that part of body where there is a cancer tumor. So it is only going to affect the cancerous cells, that's it. Someone is asking about the right to property. Shri, we are going to discuss it in detail when I am going to tell you the whole article, right? So again, this hydrogel actually going to serve as a stable reservoir for the, and it is going to released in a sustaining manner, okay, in a controlled manner. Okay. So let's understand what is the meaning of this localized cancer treatment. Like first you understand the treatment which is a systematic therapy. For example, chemotherapy is a systematic therapy. The moment a patient is going to take the drug is going to affect the whole of the body of a patient. It is going to affect the whole body. But in a localized therapy, what actually happened, it can be in form of nanoparticle, it can be in form of implants, it can be form of injectable. The present treatment which has been devised by our researchers is an injectable, and it is in form of a gel. So how it is going to affect the body of a patient? So the moment the patient is going to take the medicine, first of all it is not an oral medicine, it is an injectable. So for example the tumor is here, okay, tumor is here. So the medicine is going to inject it into the body of a patient by an injection, and that medicine is in the form of gel. So medicine is in the form of gel. What is the significance of having it in the form of gel? Because the gel can actually mimic the tissue of our body, okay. The tissues are also a gel-like structure. So this gel is going to be there alongside the cancerous cells or tumor. Then this whole medicine is not going to released in a one go. Now that this gel is going to be constructed in such a way that a small amount of medicine is going to release, okay, with the time. So whole of the medicine is not going to release in the body. The moment the gel is inside your body or patient's body, that medicine is going to released okay, in a very controlled manner, and that medicine is going to affect only that part of patient's body which is being affected by the cancer, that's it. So the other body part are not going to get affected by this medicine. Like there is a case in a systematic therapy. Systematic therapy is one of the very famous example is your chemotherapy, right? So chemotherapy is a systematic therapy, but this injectable medicine, when it comes to the treatment of cancer, these are known as a localized, okay, localized therapy. So this was all about the research. Again, very important research. It can actually change the medication related to cancer or the treatment of cancer in our country. Again, the hydrogels are going to be used here. These hydrogels are the water-based polymer network capable of absorbing and retaining fluids. Why? What is the meaning of retaining fluids? Fluids in the medicine will be in the form of fluid, okay, and that fluid will be retained by the gel inside it. Then the gel is going to be injected in the body of the patient only at that place where the cancerous cells are active. Then that gel is going to release the medicine, that fluid, in a very controlled manner, and the treatment of those cancerous cells are going to be there. So this is how this therapy is going to get processed. Okay, I hope you understood this article. Okay, next is related to our genetically modified crops. So first let's understand what is the context here. Okay, Priyanka, you will get the PDF today, don't worry about that. Okay, so what is going to be there? Actually, we all know that there is a committee, genetically engineering appraisal committee. This committee is actually going, if we want to release a genetically modified crop into the public domain, okay, or the meaning of this line is that, for example, we have BT cotton, okay, BT cotton is being grown by our farmers from a very long time. Similarly, the mustard, you know that sarso, the mustard, so the mustard, GM mustard is also there, okay, GM mustard was already discovered by the Delhi University scientist, but it was not released in a public domain, though the GEAC has already given the approval of GM mustard, okay, so GM mustard approval was already given, and this GEAC committee comes under the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Now, what is the news? The news here is that right now the ministry has amended the rules of GEAC in what manner, that the expert who are going to decide this particular GM crop is to be released, okay, in a public domain, that expert should have certain criteria. So what are those criteria? First of all, that expert member should need to actually disclose their interest so that there is no conflict in the later. For example, there is a possibility that there is very rich, very famous pharmaceutical company. Let's take example of the Bayer, okay, very famous pharmaceutical company, and it is possible, there is a possibility that this particular expert is having some kind of a family relation or other kind of relation with the chairman of that particular pharmaceutical company. Now here lies and that particular pharmaceutical company is the one who is going to produce the seeds of this GM crop. If the government is, if GEAC, if the expert is going to approve that particular GM crop, then that expert should be devoid of any kind of interest. He should not be related to such kind of pharmaceutical company in that way. So the first rule is like that, that expert member should disclose their interest, right? Just wait a second. Should disclose their interest first of all, okay, so there should not be any conflict of interest. There should not be any conflict of interest. Why is that? Because if there is any conflict of interest, then there is a possibility that the expert is going to favor the pharmaceutical company and they are not going to think about the greater good. What is the greater good here? There is a possibility that a GM crop, if it is not being researched properly, that how it is going to affect the public or the land or the environment in general, if it is not being researched properly, if an expert is going to give a green flag to a particular crop, then that crop can actually affect so many people. So here there is a concept of greater good, there is an ethical concept going on right now. So because of that issue, there should not be any conflict of interest with of the person who is going to give the final approval. And who is that person? This expert member is from Genetically Engineering Appraisal Committee. That committee comes under the Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change. The second rule is that the expert is expected to take all the steps which are necessary to ensure that any conflict of interest does not affect any decision of GEAC. First of all, the things are only kind of same only. First, he need to disclose his interest. The second, there should not be any conflict of interest. So basically it is to take care of the ethical issue which is there when it comes to the genetically modified crops in our country. Now let's understand this GM mustard, okay, in detail. What is the background of that? So GM mustard was actually its scientific name is Dhara mustard hybrid. Dhara mustard hybrid, it was actually developed by Delhi University scientists funded by the Department of Biotechnology only. Okay, so how it was formed? It was formed with this technology, that is Barney's Barstar technology. Actually it is a gene kind of technology, one gene from Barney's, okay, and the another gene for Barstar. They are being they are being actually cross bred. Actually it is again, it is a biotechnological biotechnological technology through which the real, for example, there is a traditional crop. That traditional crops tendency to reproduce, okay, self reproduction happens, self pollination happen in crops, so that is going to be reduced and the artificial kind of pollination is going to be there under this particular technology. Now, so what happened, what was the benefit of it? The benefit of this particular technology is that the new modified, genetically modified crop was going to have improve yield by 25 to 30%. Yield means per hectare growth of a or per hectare outcome of a particular crop. So in 2022 actually GEAC actually granted the conditional environmental release approval of GM mustard. Okay, in 2022 it actually happened, but in 2023 what happened? In 2023 there were so many environmentalists and the farmers, they were protesting against it. They went to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court of India actually put a stay on that. Actually it was not exactly a stay, the verdict was a split verdict. The verdict was a split verdict. What was the verdict? Split verdict means if there are two judges, out of which one judge is actually favored that this particular crop should be there in the public domain. Now another one actually was not in favor of that. So it was directed to a higher bench, which hasn't happened yet. So the Supreme Court verdict was a split verdict. After that it is actually there is a stay on the release of GM mustard in our country. Okay. Other than that, they also emphasize the same thing, the conflict of interest of the expert who is going to give the final approval. So given that particular judgment, the GEAC actually has amended the rules, and according to those rules now the expert who is going to give the final approval need not to have any kind of conflict of interest when it comes to the release of GM crops in our country. So it is not only for a GM mustard, these rules are for all kind of GM crops, right? So what are the related issue? Why the Supreme Court of India needed to intervene in between? Because it was a decision taken by GEAC. GEAC was the final authority. Why the whole case went into the Supreme Court at that point of time, because there were, for example, there were so many environmental risks related to the genetical contamination of traditional crops. If the GM crop is going to be there in the public domain, then the traditional mustard crop is going to lose, okay, and we are going to lose that particular gene of that crop, okay. So it can happen. So there is a possibility that there will be genetically contamination with the traditional crop. The second is related to the safety concern. Safety concern related to the health of the people. How the health of the people are going to modify by consuming this genetically modified crop. But again, these genetically modified crops are technologically driven crops. They are not the original or the organic ones. On the one side, we are going towards the organic food products, and on the other side, we are going towards the genetically modified crop. So there is always a debate between the organic and the modified crops in our country. The third is related to the economic and farmer impact. But farmers can also get impact, because who is going to own the seed technology? Okay, not the farmers. Farmers are not going to own the seed technology. The big pharmaceutical companies are going to own the seed technology, and there is a possibility that they monopolize the whole industry, whole GM mustard industry. So there can be a possibility, right? After that, there was issue related to adequate public consultation, that before releasing it into a public domain, GEAC did not take any kind of public consultation, which the particular committee should have done, but it did not happen. Because of these issues, the whole GM mustard case went into the Supreme Court of India, and Supreme Court of India has given a split verdict. Split verdict means there were two judges, one was in favor, another was not in favor, and the whole case was transferred to the higher bench, right? So this is the current status of GM mustard, is that GEAC has already given the approval, but Supreme Court has put a stay on that, because the final verdict about that is not there yet. Okay? So I hope you understood what is the condition of GM mustard in our country. Now let's understand what are the arguments which are in favor and which are against the GM mustard. So argument which are in favor, for example, it is going to boost the domestic production. If the yield is going to increase by 25 to 30%, it is definitely going to help us out when it comes to the oil import, because we all know that in our country we are the net importer of edible oil. Okay, mustard is edible oil only. So in our country, we all know that we import, especially the palm oil. We import so much palm oil, and palm oil also have related health issues in our country, because some experts say that the palm oil is not good for health in general. Palm oil is the oil which is very cheaper, okay, because it is being imported from Indonesia and Malaysia, and all kind of processed food which you eat today, whatever kind of processed food, so palm oil is being used in all those kind of food. So obviously mustard oil is a much better option as compared to the palm oil. If there is a GM mustard crop in the public domain, then the yield of the mustard in our country is going to improve by 25 to 30%. Then we can actually put an ease on the burden of the import of edible oil in our country. The second, again the same, the higher yield are going to benefit the farmer eventually. And the climate resilience, we all know that we are on the verge of climate change right now. This particular crop can be a climate resilient crop. For example, even if there is a climate change, then this crop is not going to get affected. We all know that what is the purpose of having these GM crops. The purpose of having these GM crop is that, first of all, we can improve the yield. How can we improve the yield? Because they will be immune to many kind of disease. Okay, the many kind of disease which are being affecting our crops right now, those diseases are not going to affect the genetically modified crops, because those crops are devised, their technology is like that way that those diseases are not going to affect. That's why the yield is going to get improved, right? Again, it is going to be climate resilient. So there are some positives also when it comes to GM mustard. Not only GM mustard, these climate resilient point you can mention in any kind of GM crop, or if you want to have the positives of genetically modified crops. Other than that, what are the arguments which are against? Again, we have already discussed. First of all, it is actually against the organic farming. There will always be a debate between the organic food and the genetically modified food. How genetically modified crops can affect the people, okay, or health of the people in general. Other than that, there are alternative solutions. So critics are saying that it is not only the GM, genetically modified crops, are the only solution to improve the yield of any kind of crop in our country. There can be other ways, okay. We can have improved kind of farming practices which can give us higher yield. So why are we sticking so much to the genetically modified technology? Other than that, public opposition. There were so many people which are opposing this particular idea, and there are so many states which are outrightly opposing the idea. For example, Rajasthan, right? So genetically modified crops, what are the arguments? Especially the GM mustard, there will be changes related to the conflict of interest topic of expert who is going to give the final verdict regarding GM crops, right? So that's given the Supreme Court's judgment only, our Environment Ministry has changed these rules right now. So it is in news, so there is a probable question in your examination also. Don't worry Bhishan, the PDFs will be uploaded today only. I will make sure of it, don't worry about that. In the Telegram group only you will get the PDF of the last few days. Now, let's come to our next topic. Again, the both topic were very important, which we have done right now. The third is related to our right to property. So the context is that the Supreme Court again reaffirmed the right to property is a human right. Okay, obviously it's a human right. Along with that, it's a constitutional right also under Article 300A. Okay, what is written actually in 300A, that no person can be deprived of his property unless related to the rule of law. Okay, it means the state government can actually take the land of a person, but it should be according to the law, rules and regulation. It should not be arbitrary in any manner. Okay, so what is this final judgment, which is the current judgment? Actually, there is a BMIC project, that is the Bengaluru Mysore Infrastructure Project. Because of that project, so many land of people were acquired by the state government. So state government acquired the land and the people were asking for compensation, right? So this is how it happens. When they acquire the property, then government has to give the compensation. But what is the final calculation of compensation? That is vague in our country. It is not very much defined in our country. That's why sometimes the Supreme Court or High Courts actually has to come to intervene, so that the right compensation can be given to the farmers or the landowners whose land were being acquired by the government for the government projects only. Okay, so right now the government has said that please give the compensation related to the market prices of 2019. Okay, but the acquisition was done in 2003, but the amount they are going to get at the market price of 2019 only. So this is the verdict. Again, this verdict is not that important. What is more important in this article is the right to property. So let's understand the history of right to property in our country. First of all, at the time of independence, right to property used to be the fundamental rights, right? So fundamental right under Article 91F, it guaranteed fundamental right to acquire, to hold and to dispose their own property. If a particular right is a fundamental right, so this right is against the state, you can directly go to Supreme Court or High Court for the sake of your right. So fundamental rights are very strong. So fundamental right will always come above the constitutional right in our country, and fundamental right are kind of a paramount kind of rights in our country. Again, Article 31 was there, which actually protected the property from being compulsorily acquired or requisition, ensuring compensation for such acquisition. It means the term compensation was already there under Article 31, which later changed, right? Compensation was already there. So when the constitution was convened in 1950, it was a constitutional right under Article 91F and under Article 31. But later what happened in 1950s and 60s, we actually were having land reform. What was the meaning of land reform? We all know that before our independence, the land was concentrated, especially in areas in the North India, especially in areas of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. There were big landlords, okay. So there were big landlords, jamindari system was there. Because of those jamindari system, the actual tiller of the land was not the owner of the land. Who were the owner of the land? The big jamindars were the owner of the land. And because they were owner of the land, and because of this fundamental right, it was very difficult to give that land from the zamindar to the actual tiller, okay. So it was very difficult because of this particular fundamental right. But the government wanted in 1950s and 60s, government wanted to have land reforms. What is the meaning of land reform? That taking the land from the big zamindar and giving them to the small farmer or small tiller. Sometimes those tillers, those farmers were the original owners of those land, and you know that what happened in the British time. The whole of the land of India was under the British Empire, the British rule only, and the Britishers were the one who gave those land or assigned those land to big zamindars, and big zamindars used to take tax or the revenue from the farmers who were tilling that land. But the ownership of those lands were with the earlier was with the state only, but later it was with the zamindars. So the zamindars were kind of intermediary, but the actual owner, who were the actual tiller of the land, they were not having any kind of ownership of their lands. So that's why this land reform movement was there in our country, right? So for fair distribution, but those landowners were invoking Article 19(1)(f) and Article 31 when the government was trying to take land from them and to give it to the farmers. So the whole debate was going on in our country. So it was there in the mind of politicians that it is not very feasible for us to have right to property as a fundamental right in a country like India, and especially at that point of time, right? So there was a very important landmark case also, Kamleshwar Singh versus State of Bihar, which questioned the validity of land reforms law, leading to the conflict between property rights and the social justice. So the fundamental right was a property right and the land reform was a part of social justice. So there was a whole debate started between these two provisions, right? So given that we actually done the first amendment in 1951, according to that first amendment, Article 31A and 31B was introduced. Earlier there was only Article 31, then A and B were also introduced by protecting law related to the agrarian reform from judicial review. Means if the government has done some agrarian some land reform, then it should not become a part of judicial review, so that the big jamindar cannot go to the court directly, okay, or cannot say to the court that court should intervene, because if there is no right of judicial review, if the particular the case will go into the 9th schedule. You know the meaning of 9th schedule. If any particular rule, regulation or law is a part of 9th schedule, then there cannot be any judicial review, okay. So judiciary cannot intervene in that, in particular law. So that's why the 9th schedule was introduced, and the first amendment, introduction of 9th schedule, everything was actually initially related to the right to property only, and the debate between the right to property right and the social justice in our country, okay. Given that, okay, even after that the issue was not solved that much. That's why the right to property as a fundamental right was abolished by 44th Constitutional Amendment Act 1978 by Janata government, right? So again the Article 91F and 31, they were repealed, and the right to property was removed as a fundamental right, and it became as a part of constitutional right under Article 300A. Why it was, I have already told you why it was inserted in 300A, because we wanted to have right to property as a property right in our constitution, right? Property right is a very important right, but we did not want it at a fundamental right. Why not a fundamental right? Because fundamental rights are supreme. So the land reforms were coming in way of right to property as a fundamental right. We as a welfare state needed to look after the social reform also. We needed to do those land reform. Okay, those land reform were so necessary, but the right to property as a fundamental right was coming in the way of that social justice. That's why we removed it from a fundamental right and we made it a part of Article 300A as a constitutional right only. Now under this 300A, the state cannot acquire a property unless there is any kind of rules and regulation or the state seems necessary. Okay. Now let's come to our next article. So this next article is a particular report by Unified District Information System for Education, short form is UDISE report. Okay, so this is actually an online portal, online portal hai. So on that online portal, all the state sponsored or the state sponsored schools are going to put their information. What kind of information? Information regarding their students, information regarding their teachers, information regarding other kind of infrastructure. Okay, and information regarding the quality of education as well, right? Now what is recently the report is out for 2022-2023. so what is there in this particular report? 2023-2024, what is there in the report? So the report is not showing very good outcomes. The outcomes are relatively in a negative stance only. For example, out of 14 lakh student, 14.71 lakh student, 1.52 lakh schools, 1.52 lakh schools don't even have a functional electricity, first of all. The second, in our country, we have 67,000 schools which operate without any functional toilet, and out of them, majority of them are the government school. Actually, this portal is not only for the government school, it is for private schools also, but private schools which are approved by the state. So state approved private schools are also going to put their information in this particular portal. Okay, again unified means it's a pan India district information system. Matlab every district kind of data we have in that particular district section, the each and every school of that district is going to fill their information. Right? After that, in our country, we have first of all 67,000 schools doesn't have any functional toilet. Even those schools which have the functional toilet, most of them are not disabled friendly. So only 3.37 lakh schools have disabled friendly toilets out of 10.17 lakh government school. The total number of schools are 14.71, right? And the government schools are 10.71 lakhs in our country. Now let's understand what this particular portal is. So this portal is under the Department of School Education and Literacy, which comes under the Ministry of Education, which is a part of government ministry. So it is a Department of School and Education Ministry is the one who actually administer UDISE. So it is the largest management information system initiated by the DOSCL, Department of School Education and Literacy, which is actually covering the 14.72 lakh schools in our country. Most of them are almost 10 lakhs are government schools. And in those schools, we have 98 lakhs teachers and we have 24 crores children. Okay, in our country, we have almost 15 lakhs schools, we have 98 lakhs teacher and we have 24 crores children enrolled in those schools. Again, it is an online portal, right? I have already told you, which is actually there to record data related to the schools, related to teachers, related to enrollment, infrastructure and all those other things. It is the only pan-India database that we have. This is the only pan-India. Other than that, we have other database. Other databases are not pan-India. They are either on the state level or on the district level, right? Now, again, it was revamped in 2022-23. What happened? What was the change in 2022-23? That now the enrollment, which the kind of information they are going to fill, that information should be linked to the Aadhaar, so that there is no forged enrollment data is being filled by the school. Okay. Now, these were the not only outcome of the this particular report, there were other outcomes also. For other findings are related to, for example, very important finding, that total enrollment in school have also came down. So in 2022-23, the total enrollment number of students were 25.18 crore. But in this year 2023-24, it came down to 24.8 crore, or you can say that there is a 1 crore less children which are in school right now. So 1 crore students are less enrolled this year as compared to last year. So what is the trend here? So this is not the only time, this is not the only year we have witnessing the decrease in the enrollment. So in 2022-23, enrollment were higher, but it reduced by 1 crore in 2023-24. And this is not the only case. Before that also, actually in 2018-19, we had 26 crore students enrolled in our schools. But after that, it decreased. In 2019-20, there was a slight increase, but after that enrollment decreased in 2022-21 also and 22-23 also. So from last 3 years there is a constant decline in the enrollment of students, which is actually very unfortunate. So there is a decline from last 3 years, okay, in enrollment. So the decline is not very large as compared to the total number of students, but again the 1 crore students are out of the school, or the enrollment has decreased by 1 crore is a very alarming issue, okay, when it comes to the enrollment or education in our country. The other findings related to the gender and state-wise trend. So when it comes to enrollment, we know that the enrollment has decreased, but the boys enrollment has decreased more as compared to the girls enrollment. So boys enrollment decreased by 4.87% and girls enrollment decreased by 4.48% only. Not only, it's not, I mean, there is a slight difference, but again the boys enrollment were decreased more as compared to the girls enrollment. After that, the major states where enrollment declined, on the first number there is a Bihar. In Bihar there are 35 lakh students, okay, which are not enrolled, okay, 35 lakhs less students which are enrolled this year. In Uttar Pradesh we have 28 lakh students which are enrolled less this year, and in Maharashtra we have 18 lakh students which are enrolled less this year as compared to the last year. So these 3 states are the one actually contributing most when it comes to the decrease in the enrollment as compared to the last year. Okay. Actually, you can use this data when it comes to a mains oriented question, or in prelims also UPSC can directly ask you the data about USIED, because this is a government approved data. It is related to the Ministry of Education only. So this data is very important. UPSC can ask about this report as well. Now let's come to our last news. So again, the major Dhyan Chand Puraskar is being announced. So 4 people are going to get major Dhyan Chand Puraskar. The one is Manu Bhaker. Okay, she actually secured double Olympic medalist, okay, this year. Then D. Gukesh is a world chess champion. Harmanpreet Singh and Praveen Kumar. Harmanpreet Singh is the captain of India's men's hockey team, and Praveen Kumar is a Paralympic gold medalist of this year. Okay, so these 4 people, actually their images are also there. These 4 people are going to get Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Puraskar this year. So let's understand what this particular award is. Actually, this award is the highest supporting sport honor award in our country actually, and it is named after the hockey player Major Dhyan Chand. Okay, he was one of the greatest hockey player of all the time in our country. Again, this award is being awarded by Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, and who actually being granted this particular award, those who have actually achieved or has performed well either in Olympics or other world championship or other kind of international competitions. It is not for international competition, it is for those sports person who have achieved something in their international tournaments. What is the prize? The prize is a medal, a certificate and a cash prize. Currently this cash prize is 25 lakh rupees. Okay, so please remember that also, because Olympics were there. Okay, recently Olympics were there. Now the people who actually secured those Olympic medals are going to get the Major Dhyan Chand award. So these right now they are very important from exam point of view also. So let's do some questions. So let's read this question first. So it is related to the again United District Information System for Education. The first statement is, it is an initiative by Department of School Education and Literacy. Correct or not? I am actually asking, is it correct or not? Yes, it is a part of Department of School Education and Literacy under the Ministry of Education only. Under the Ministry of Education only. Then as per the report, the students' enrollment is on decline from last 5 years in our country. Is it correct? Is it correct? This is correct actually. This system uses Aadhaar details and provide unique education ID to its student. Is this correct? Yes, this is also correct, but this is not correct. The 2 is not correct. So answer is going to be A. Yes, Angel, you are right. Priyanka, you are right also. Ruchi, you are also right. Okay, everyone is right now. Let's do another question related to GM mustard. So, GM mustard was developed by Delhi University scientists under a project funded by Department of Technology. Okay, is it correct? Yes, Ritesh, you are right. It is from last 3 years decline. So, GM mustard was developed by Delhi University scientists. Correct or not? It uses Barnes Barster technology aimed at improving yield by 25 to 30%. This is also correct, right? Yes. Third, as of now, the environmental release and commercial cultivation of GM mustard remain on hold due to Supreme Court intervention. Is this correct or not? This is also correct. Okay. So what is going to be answer here? Yes, Angel, you are very much right. D is the correct answer. Okay. So D is correct answer here. So all the 3 statements are correct. But UPSC can do to make this question wrong, they can actually change this data. Okay, and they can change the name of the technology also, right? And they can say that no, this particular commercial cultivation of GM mustard is allowed in our country, but it is not yet allowed, though it was approved by the GEAC, but it is not allowed because of the intervention of the Supreme Court. So this fact you need to remember. Again, the D is the correct answer here, right? So this was today's The Hindu newspaper, and I hope you understood all the articles. Now my suggestion is that after this particular session you go and read your newspaper also, especially if you are newcomers or you have just started your preparation, because right now if you will have this habit of reading newspaper, then it is going to benefit you in the long run. So please do it, and newspaper reading is very, very important. Never ever skip it. Okay, if you are an aspirant or if you are a serious aspirant, it is bound for you to read newspaper. Okay, right? So thank you so much. Have a nice day and study well. This is a new year, you should study, okay, with full energy.